Alrighty. There we go. Alrighty, let's get going. How's it going, Squirrely Outdoors? How are we doing on this fine day? Not tying great trout flies, at least right now. But, we'll tie some of those in a little bit. For now, though, we'll start off with a funnel classic. Starting off with just a simple tail of a bucktail. Normally I do a unless Liam comes on here, then I might do a mono tail just to show him how to do one, but unless he hops on here pretty quick, I'll do a standard bucktail tail, just a standard straight tie. Actually, I might do a mono tail just to show. It's kind of interesting. I don't think I've really showed it on a live stream much, so let's do that. So I'll show you how to do a mono tail. So a mono tail, just basically, it's just an extension of the tail. It doesn't have like a hook on it or anything. It basically just allows you to more easily, provide longer, just longer tails, basically. So I'm gonna use my bad scissors for this. Basically, all you do, you take some like really heavy mono. I use 50-pound mono, just like this is just, I don't even know, like Zebco mono. You don't have to use anything super fancy or anything. And I'm just gonna stretch this out. I just start first off warming it up. And once it gets to the point where it's burning your hands, stop, stretch, wait for a little bit until it cools off. And then you got straight mono that we can tie that tail with. And this will create a really nice extension for our hollow body fly. So I'm just gonna tighten down my vise. You can tie this in hand, like it's almost easier to tie it in hand at times, but I tend to just continue to use my vise because it's just, when you're trying to cut bucktail and stuff, it just tends to be easier. So right at that base, lay down a little thread base. And usually using thinner thread for this is better, but I'm just gonna use this like 240 or whatever this is, denier. It should, it'll be fine. And I'm gonna use blue today. Sometimes I'll use white. A lot of times I use white, but I'll use blue just for the heck of it. It's a little bit more interesting. I'm just gonna cut off these butt ends, and then just wrap a little. Oh goodness, screechy. I'm gonna cord up my thread just a hair, and now tie these in. Hopefully I don't mess this up. This is like the one point in the whole fly that's you can really mess these up pretty easily if you're not a little careful. But yeah, I'll give it a little tighten just to kind of curl those around. These, oh shoot, and this is what I mean. Your your thread can spin around the mono, even if you have tons of thread tension, especially on this thicker thread. It just doesn't work quite as good, but that'll be fine. I'll just do another clump. We'll try it again. Give it a nice squeeze. There we go. Bring it back. And from here, I'll just lay down a little bit of thread just to kind of cover this up pretty much down the entirety of this. It'll also just make it so it doesn't slide off or anything like that. And then after I'm done with that, I'll give this a couple wraps on the mono itself just to bind that down again so it doesn't slide. And I'll give this a whip finish. And you don't have to go super heavy on this tail with with deer tail. You just, it's just a little extension of a tail. So it's nothing crazy, but... And then I'll grab some Zap-A-Gap. Where's my Zap-A-Gap? Drop it. What was I doing with my Zap-A-Gap? Well, this might be UV resin day, I guess. Well, that's fine. I'll just use UV resin. So we'll grab some UV resin and UV resin this up. Going on the bottom side as well. And just apply a hair of UV resin. And that's our tail. Now that we've got our tail done, I'll grab my hook. I'm using a salmon hook because I have a bunch of these and I have no use for them. So I'm just tying muskie and pike flies with them. Obviously, you know, using real muskie and pike hooks is more ideal, but for now I just want to get rid of these, and you know they'll work fine, so it doesn't really matter. But I'll start off my thread base on here. Goodness gracious, that's a squeaky bobbin. Oh, this bobbin's always squeaky, no matter. And if you try to let it off too much, then it's just not good. So there's no real win for it. You just gotta deal with it. But I'll go about that long on it probably. And you don't have to bind this down crazy well. How's it going, Mr. Craig? You don't have to bind this down crazy good because you know, there's no actual like, you know, weight bearing on it. Like when a fish bites it, they're biting at, you know, this hook. They're not biting at this, you know, anywhere at this back. Like it's not holding the fish. So you don't got to worry about like doubling it over or anything. Just, you know, tie it in tight, obviously, so it doesn't come unraveled. I'll use just the back of my scissors. And we'll start, I gotta stretch out these legs are way too tight, clearly, because it's squeaking more than it even should, even though this bobbin does squeak way too much. Yeah, but then if you do too much, then it just won't hold. And now I'm gonna start blending fibers together, which is a really fun method of making musky flies. So we're gonna use, for this fly, we're gonna use some blue, and we're gonna use some white, at least for right now. We might, you know, add some yellow or something. These are my little stubs that I keep of my, you know, various deer tails that I've had. And I just keep little stubs. So when I'm blending, flies like this, I can just, you know, have little various cool colors that I can blend in with each other. So we're gonna grab about 1/3 of a clump of yellow, and then about 1/3 of a clump of blue. I changed my mind about only having white and blue. I'm gonna add some yellow as well. And then we'll grab some white as well. And I'm mostly using this white because they're really good long fibers. And I'm just gonna blend these together. So basically just kind of folding in half and then reapplying. And just like that, you've got yourself a nice little blend of bucktail. How's it going, Mr. Clouser? How are we doing? And we've got that. And I'll go ahead and stack that hair right up. And I'm not going to spin this hair super hard because I want to, very good, Mr. Clouser. I'm not going to spin this hair a ton. I want it to mostly kind of stay on top and on the sides. And then I'll apply some more white on the bottom. I'm just going to go with white on the bottom, and I'm not going to make it super, super heavy. So gonna add just a little bit more yellow. I'm gonna like fade out the yellow, so I want this to start off, you know, with a fair bit of yellow, and then I'll like fade it out as we go along. So I'm gonna add a little bit more yellow on top. And that looks pretty dang good. There we go. And now I'll turn this over and we'll get some white on there. And I'll apply this to the bottom. And we don't want a ton because of how flies keel. We want more material on the top than on the bottom. Otherwise, this fly will keel really bad, and it'll go lopsided because there's, you know, if there's more stuff on the bottom that's floatable, it will cause this entire fly to flip over, obviously, because you know the material wants to be, whatever material is basically more buoyant is what's going to be, you know, highest, obviously, because that's just how physics works. And so if I have a ton of material on the bottom, it's not going to, and a little bit of material on top, it's not going to ride like this, right? It's going to ride like this because that, you know, that really buoyant material, there's more buoyant material on the bottom, so it'll flip over. So we want more on the top. And unfortunately, I believe, because this is a weird hook, oh, it will work. Good. Yeah, barely. And then I'm just going to give these a really good pinch, and that will secure, or that'll kind of like crease them, so that I am actually just gonna, I'm gonna line these up. I'm gonna bring everything forward so that way it all is a clean spot to fold over. And I'm also gonna just add just a bit of UV resin. I don't know where my Zap-A-Gap is still, but this will work, just not as good. That looks fine. Yeah, I don't know where the heck my my Zap-A-Gap is. I kind of need it, so it's pretty annoying. I don't know where it would be. But, yeah, I don't know. It's not in my travel case or anything, but goodness gracious. We're gonna use some thick UV resin, I guess, just to give that more protection from stuff. There we go, that'll work. So now I'm just gonna fold this over with whatever means you prefer. I normally just use a bobbin of whatever type, and then I'll give these another good pinch just to crease these. And from there, I'm gonna start off, my first tie is gonna be a bullet tie. So because I'm already right there, I'm gonna cord up my thread a little bit. So just a little spin, wait a couple seconds, that should be fine. Perfect. And then, yeah, I'll give it a couple wraps. That's a bullet tie. A lot of people look down on bullet ties, but I, for one, believe bullet ties are a great tool in a lot of circumstances. They're not the answer to everything, of course, but, ooh, dang it, my bullet tie came undone. I wasn't putting enough pressure on there. Bullet ties are definitely not the answer to everything, but they definitely have their place in the arsenal of a fly tires, specifically, you know, streamer tires. Obviously, this is a musky pike fly, but this thing can be, you know, taken down. I have a whole box right there of just trout flies that are tied, you know, hollow tied just like this, that work incredibly for brown trout, you know, cutthroats. Use them on alpine lakes for wild cutties. They're great. But yeah, so I've got that, and I'm gonna slowly fade out my my yellow. But before I do that, I am gonna tie in some feathers just to give it more, you know, something a little different than just pure bucktail. So I'm gonna go in with some yellow. This is technically, is this schlappen? I don't think this is technically schlappen. Yeah, I think this is just a saddle, like strung saddle hackles or something. They're just kind of random hackle feathers. But strip off these ends. And now, of course, when you're when you're tying musky flies, you know, you're kind of tempted to tie the stems in first, but actually you really should be tying on the feather first because it'll stop it from spinning. So if I tie on the actual feather itself first, I'll tie my other one right away. It won't spin. If I tie in the you know, the stem, that bare stem first, it'll spin all over the place. It won't go where you want it to. It's just overall a negative experience. So definitely something that you want to try to avoid when you're tying flies. You know, whether they're, you know, big musky pike flies like this, or whether you're tying this style of fly for trout or even panfish. You know, you want to you know, if you don't want your feathers to spin for whatever reason, definitely tying in on the feather and then going to the stem really helps. So again, I'm going to fade out that yellow a little bit more. So I'm going to use just a little bit less yellow, probably like a quarter of a bunch. Or a quarter of what I will end up be using on the top of this fly. So about a quarter. And then I'll grab a little bit more blue this time. And then about the same amount of white, probably. Just going to grab another little tiny, probably eighth bunch of a blue there, just to continue to replace that yellow. And then, yeah, just some white as well. And normally you want to kind of start out your first two, I would say, you want to be relatively sparse. And then when you go in a little bit further, hello, Fusion Duster. Once you go in a little bit more, it will, you know, you can get a better overall profile if you start off sparse and then get bigger and bigger. Fusion Duster, you made a video about me. I saw that was quite the video. Yeah, AI is getting pretty good. That's for sure. What was that video about, Fusion Duster? You know, that's actually like really scary, not gonna lie, that AI can do that. But I was like punching babies while I was fly fishing or something. That was quite the thing. So I just stacked up the butts there, and that allows me to tie these. I'm not stacking the tips. We don't really worry about the tips when we're tying these hollow flies. Instead, we're stacking those butts, and that allows us just to tie in way better. So I'll just wait for that to spin. And now I'll just go ahead and tie these in. The allegations are true, everybody. That's true. I bathe in baby oil or something. Yeah, those totally not AI. Those totally not AI clips are pretty cool. So we've got that top part. Going to the bottom, and I'm gonna tie in some white again. I'm gonna grab one of my other clumps. This clump is a little bit sparse. But not as long of fibers, unfortunately. Yeah, I guess if you want to be scared about how good AI is, thank you so much, Klauser. Thank you very much. That means a lot to me. Actually, that's a little bit too much white. Again, that'll stop the keeling of the fly properly if I add too much buoyant material to the bottom of that fly. So I want to keep the bottom relatively sparse compared to that top. It wasn't AI, Fusion Duster says. Yeah. It was genuine online footage. Where did you find this footage? Like, where did you find, was it on like the Epstein files or something? Like, where did you find the footage of me like beating up babies? Like, while I was fly fishing, like fly casting, and there's like babies on my shoulder or something, like crazy. And I'll get a little bit of UV resin. Again, I have no idea where my Zap-A-Gap is. It's really annoying. Some random sub. Oh, sure. Yeah, sub Reddit. You're all good, Clouser. Yeah, some random subreddit. Okay, buddy. Yeah, sure. Sure. Is that subreddit Reddit r/Sora? r/Sora AI? r/Gemini? And I'm gonna give these another good crease. Obviously just allows the material to set better. So you can set it in place by just creasing it. And then I'll do a hollow tie on this one. Oof, goodness gracious. Problem with using big thread. That's why I hate big thread. I usually like 6/0. And that is now a bullet tie. There we go. Back to a hollow tie. No, r/ChatGPT AI video generations. Nice. I didn't know ChatGPT actually made video generation. I thought they only did images and obviously actual voice or actual language model stuff. Alrighty, I think, I'll probably do 2 more. So I'll do a pretty sparse one, and then I'll do a really, a pretty heavily... Honestly, Bambi, making AI videos of people is just not cool. People who do that are, not cool. Oh, really? Yeah, Ethan. I love making wooden lures, too. Do I have any nearby? I do not. I don't think. No. I love making wooden lures, too. I just don't... I think I posted, a really old video about it. I can't remember, though. But, yeah, it's super... Wooden lures are super fun, too. A little bit less yellow, once again. Just barely pinch at this point. Just to add that extra flair. I think we'll continue with about this much on the next clump, too. We won't phase it out too much, but I just think that kind of slow fade looks cool, too. How's it going, Mr. Hooked on Flies? The Fulton family, can I have one? Have what? A fly? If I had a business, but I don't have a website or I don't have a business, so I'm afraid not, unfortunately. Once I get a business, though, once I get business, bro. I'm tying a little kind of, pike streamer that could also be for muskie and, if you size it down, maybe some trout. I still have not gotten to a fly shop to get stuff for a blue tag or a blue charm, right? Yeah, my bad, blue charm. I still have not gotten to a fly shop for it, so hopefully I will be getting. I live I don't know, over an hour from the nearest fly shop, and I'm lucky for that. So unfortunately I haven't been able to, but hopefully I will very soon. And once again, go ahead and stack these up. Did you do a live stream tonight, Hooked on Flies? I didn't get a chance to check. It's gonna be a close one, but I think I should be able to get another layer in there without too much of a problem. Thank you for my pre-assembled flies. Oh, I understand what you mean, Fusion Duster. I just tie them in reverse. That makes sense. I slowly unravel them. That's what you meant. Yeah. Oh, you've been really busy filling orders? There we go. And I'm just tightening up my thread, or cording up my thread a little bit, just to, you sell your flies, hooked on flies? And I am gonna bullet tie this one once again so that I can tie in some flash. I like to, usually on my second to last bundle, I'll bullet tie it and I'll tie in my flash. So I'm gonna do that. Bullet tie, really simple. Probably should have done some UV resin before. That'll be fine. We'll do it now. You do? You sell them online? Or do you sell them to like local fly shops and stuff? There we go. Looks decent, I suppose. Oh, you're a oh, yeah. Yes, you're a commercial tire. So you tie, who do you actually tie for? Like what company? And because it's a blue fly, I'm gonna use some blue crystal flash. And we're gonna just fold these in half. And from there, this goes on top. That's kind of a yucky one. That's kind of a yucky one. This goes on top. And this gets folded around to the bottom. There we go. And that gets a really nice kind of 360-degree flashy look to this fly. Holy crap, 7 dozen, bro? That's crazy, bro. I cannot imagine tying 7 dozen flies. That is crazy. Well, major props to you for being able to tie 7 dozen flies a day. What kind did you tie? A whole bunch, or do you only tie 1 or 2 different patterns? I guess it depends on who you tie for. If you tie for all the same pattern, yeah. What pattern? Your traditional salmon flies? Because that's crazy if you tie traditional salmon flies. Or is it like, parachute Adams or something, which wouldn't be quite as bad. Or like a zebra midge, which wouldn't be horrible either, I guess, but still crazy. Patty France. Is that Patty Francis or Patty Francais? I just seen Francis. Patty France. I don't think I've ever heard of that. I don't know. I'm horrible at remembering fly names though. Horrible at it. Absolutely horrible. For the knowledge I have of fly fishing, at least, I'm horrible at knowing names. If you show me a fly, like, I'll probably know or recognize it or know how to tie it, but, like, actually, like, knowing the name of it, yeah, probably not. I just am not good at it, unfortunately. So now I've got 3 different colors, once again. calf tail trimmed deer, skinny body, calf tail wing. Cool, okay. It's like a deer, skinny body. So I assume it's a dry fly then, I would assume, like almost like a classic dry fly. 1,500 to 2,000 flies in a season. That is insane. 1,500 to 2,000 is crazy. Wow. Oh, it's a wet fly. Okay, sure. Cool. I need to fish more wet flies. I'm one of those like kids that all the old people complain about who don't fish fish wet flies. It's not for like bad of intention. Like if I lived on like really good trout streams, I definitely would. But it's like, I don't know. I don't have enough good trout water near me to constitute doing so. Like if I lived like right on like the big hole in Montana or something, like that'd be really cool. Thank you, Mr. Jacob. I very much appreciate it. Yeah, we've been trying to. Dude, I need to get like, I forgot how many, like 150, 200, 500, 1,000, something like that. Or I think 1,000 or 1,500 or something watch hours in order to make like 2 cents on a video. So, need to get a few long, and short form doesn't count. So, gotta get some live streams. Also, it's fun to interact with people. So, hello, Best Stefan. Thank you, Bambi Clauser. Thank you. It's looking pretty good. I like how it looks. Nice blue and yellow and white. And I'm going to go on the bottom here and do some white. So, how about a scud after this? Yeah, definitely. I'll tie up a scud. You know, 7 dozen is crazy. There we go. I don't love how that's going around the hook. It's like, and it's not getting full coverage, probably because of that big ol' hook eye that's on this weird salmon fly, or on this weird salmon hook. But yeah, what kind do you want me to tie? Orange, like the big orange ones. I love big oranges, or like smaller gray ones. What are we thinking? I'm going to go in on the bottom and just put some UV resin down here as well. Let that soak in for just a second. You like small brown ones? I can try one of those. You live in Newfoundland, right? Hooked on flies? And I'll give this one. This one's especially important. You get a really good crease. You know, really helps cement that fly, because this is obviously our final wrapping, so you really want to make sure you have a really good finish on this fly. I'm going to go pretty minimal with the you know, wrapping back on this fly. It's actually too much. It's too much. That's perfect. Okay. Nice. Yeah, I really want to try fishing in Newfoundland. Bucket list places in Canada are definitely BC, obviously, because of bull trout, but Newfoundland is actually pretty high up there, just because it's I don't know, it's just so much more interesting, I feel like, than just, like, mainland Canada. Like, obviously, I've been to Ontario and areas like that, and that's really pretty and really cool, but Newfoundland is really fun. I'm gonna just let that soak in for just a second. Are you from Florida, Bambi? I am not from Florida. I am from, the upper Midwest, but well, there we've got a nice streamer pattern. Obviously, you could scale it down and use it for trout or bass or smallmouth. I do watch the new fly fisher, yes. Not as much lately, but I do enjoy the new fly fisher, that's for sure. Alrighty, there we go. And now this UV resin chips like a ton, so I'm gonna put on some of this like weird. This is just like Amazon resin, but it's like way better than Loon resin. So I like Amazon resin, UV resin, better than like the fancy name brand stuff, because I don't know, Loon, maybe it's just Loon, but it chips like a lot. They do some of their Atlantic salmon fishing in Newfoundland. I'll have to check that out. I don't remember seeing one of those, but I probably have watched one of their videos in Newfoundland, but I'll check that out, because yeah, it's the salmon fishing there is super cool. I didn't know you could only use flies, though. That is really interesting. And there we have it, guys. That is a nice streamer pattern. Muskie, pike, largemouth, smallmouth, things of that nature. Hooked on flies, asked to... I know, that's what I'm saying. Loon UV resin is, like, not good. It is not good. I'm pretty sure they just buy it from China and just use it, because I think, like, the Chinese, like, Amazon resin is better. Solar res, yeah, solar res is good. Solar res is good. I've never used Raid Zap. I've never used Raid Zap, but I have it, like, solar res is good. Solar res is very good. There we go. That'll go in the muskie box. Probably goes what? Medium? Is this a medium or is this a small? I would say this is a medium. Well, this will go in the medium area. Alrighty, let's tie up a scud. So I'm gonna use a slightly bigger hook than I normally would, just so that you guys can see it, because for some reason YouTube's like zooming software is like horrible. But yeah, we'll use a size 10 for this. A size 10. That's a fun emoji. Bambi Clouser. And I'll use these martini. Oh, these are tiny. I need to get some more beads, that's for sure. These might be too big. I don't know, these are 4.5 millimeter. I think these will be too big for this little size 10, but we'll give it a try. Obviously, scud, or this will just be a really freaking heavy fly, but it'll work. Which is good. I need a good point fly for. I'm going fly fishing tomorrow, hopefully. So need a good, really heavy point fly. Maybe do some tight line nymphing. There we go. We're gonna need some lead in this guy, that's for sure. Do a couple wraps. That's gonna be way too thick. Oh, my desk is a mess right now. Oh, it's bad. It's really bad. I need to clean this thing up. Or we could just go with some really thick stuff. Oh yeah, you have not seen my pattern yet. This is my signature pattern. This is the only way I tie my scuds. I'll show you. It's the best method, trust. You just gotta watch. And this is very much accentuated because normally I use much smaller hooks in this. So yeah, so I start off, and I tie this entire fly often completely inverted. Flip it over if you have a rotary vise, otherwise it's not a big deal. So I basically tie this entire fly inverted normally. We start off about right there. And we'll grab our dubbing. You wanted brown, you said? I'll tie I don't have any brown dubbing in here, do I? I just used the last of my brown dubbing on some dubbing loop woolly buggers I was doing. I do have this like weird cap oak dubbing, but I don't know. I'll blend that with some other dubbing. I'll use like blend some of this with some orange dubbing just to give it some because obviously we're gonna be brushing this out, so we need some body in this fly, but we'll make some of this cap oak. This is actually dry fly dubbing, obviously, but it's the only brown dubbing I have right now. I just ran out, so we'll use some of that. Okay, let's show Hooked on Flies how Americans tie their scuds. So I'm gonna start off by taking out a piece of chartreuse deer tail or bucktail that's in there, and now I'm gonna make just a standard dubbing noodle that's relatively tight all the way to the bead. And then after doing that, bring this all the way to the bead, and it's gonna be a relatively sparse body. And then, or not sparse, it's gonna be a relatively tight body. And after going all the way up, and it's relatively tight, obviously this is a fairly large, I'm making a fairly large scud. But after doing that, I'm gonna come back down and I'm gonna make a pretty loose dubbing noodle. And I'm gonna go all the way down, making it pretty loose. And then I'm gonna come up and I'm gonna make this super loose, like barely even tightening it down. Bring it up. And these things can be tied in like 30 seconds. And then I give them a whip finish. Whoops. And you can go back on my YouTube channel. I've been tying them like these for years and catching fish on them for years, so they certainly work. And then I'll grab my dubbing brush. I use a loon dubbing brush because it's nice and very coarse. The other companies make a lot, obviously thinner of dubbing brushes, but a nice, really, a nice, really firm brush works pretty well for many situations. And I'm just gonna brush this down, and then after making sure everything's down, I'm gonna grab some thick UV resin and just lay it on top, and that's it. So no thin skin, nothing of that nature. Literally a jig hook and some dubbing and some UV resin, and that's literally it. So Hooked on Flies, I don't know if this is up to your standards, but this is my scud, and it works like a charm. Thank you, Mr. John. And there we have it, guys. Nice scud fly. Maybe I'll fish this tomorrow. It's a little bit big, but it'll probably work. Why don't you call this a scud? I think it mimics a scud pretty good. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Always appreciate a subscriber. Each and every subscriber means a lot to me, of course. And there we go. Hooked on Flies. Why don't we consider these scuds, bro? This is a scud. This is what I think probably over half of the guys that I fly fish either with or no fish scuds exactly like this. It is possible to make a glow-in-the-dark fly. I don't think I have any glow-in-the-dark materials. A lot of like stuff like this, like squirmy wormy material and stuff will glow in the dark. This stuff does not, unfortunately, but there are a lot that do glow in the dark. Oh, scuds are definitely can be straight. Remember, they're basically a little freshwater shrimp. So, obviously, I don't think, like, do trout actually care? I don't think so. But, like, when I go and collect scuds, some of them will be all curled up. But, yeah, for sure, they don't have bright green heads. You're right. But, a lot of them are actually straight. They're basically a freshwater shrimp, right? So what kind of fly, John? Do you want a scud, or do you want, like, what I was saying, like a streamer? So yeah, you're for sure right about the green head. Normally I tie these in the color that I'm tying the actual material in. So you'll see if I tie an olive one, I'll use an olive. If I'm tying a, orange one, I'll use an orange bead. I just didn't have any for this size. Yeah, I can tie up a streamer. Yeah, for sure. They for sure don't have green heads, but I do firmly believe that a straight shanked hook works very well. And I think, like, if you look up, like, scud patterns, you'll see a lot of, like, a jig hooks fly pattern. They're all over. So, not to say that they are any more effective than any other style, but they are certainly very efficient to tie and very efficient to fish. They don't get snagged because obviously it's a jig hook, and you have a bead on there, so you can control weight a lot better. Alrighty, let's tie up a silver, gold, and black fly. Goodness gracious. Yeah, I used to tie, I have a lot that are also tied on, obviously scud hooks, scrub hooks, but, this is how I've tied them for, I tie most of my flies this way. This is my winter fly box I was tying for YouTube, and you can see I've got a lot of scuds in here, but, like, I don't know, over half of these scuds are, the way that you prefer. So this is my standard scud fly that I just tied. Obviously, this is how I normally tie them, with a green, with the bead matching the rest of the fly. But that's my take. But over half of the scuds in this box are the style that you prefer. This one's a bigger orange scud, and this one's a smaller gray scud, and both of them are tied on curved nymph hooks. So I certainly do tie them your way, but I think it's more interesting to tie them, the way that I have been tying them, because it's just, something new that people don't see every day. So, yeah. Let's tie up a fly. Silver, gold, black. I can do that. We're going to start this off. I'm going to make this primarily gold or yellow. I don't actually have gold, but I'm going to make this like another, like, kind of like hollow tied deer tail fly, but with some twists. So, hooked on flies. Do you mostly swing your flies, or do you like indicator fish? So we're gonna go in with this tail here. And there we've got the tail of this fly. And now I'm going to start to blend my bucktail. So you wanted silver, gold, and black. I don't have any silver. We'll get to that in a second. But I do have some yellow, and I certainly have black. So I'm gonna grab some of this yellow. And I'll grab my black bucktail, which I need to get a new bucktail because we're starting to run pretty dry on this. But yeah, I'll grab some black. There we go. And I'll blend these together. And you can use like a, either a comb or a dubbing brush to kind of lay these out and mix them around a little bit better. But for me, I normally just kind of grab half, stack them, grab half, stack them, kind of a style. It just tends to be a little faster, I find, than actively brushing them. And now I've got the butts all lined up. And I'm going to do my first reverse tie. This is actually a little bit much. I'm going to save about a third of this for our next clump, because that's a little bit more. That'd be enough for like a, an actual musky fly. This is more of a trout, smallmouth, pike, hollow fly. So I don't want quite that much, but grab some of that, flip this over, and I'll use a little bit of white to accentuate the look of this fly. And now I've tied this in. I'm just gonna bring this forward just a hair, just to make sure everything's in proper alignment, and then I'll go ahead and fold this over and give it a good crease. It's not quite as important on these smaller flies to really crease it or anything, like if we were doing a bigger musky fly, but still important. So now I'm gonna go ahead and bullet tie this once again. And now we're gonna go in with our silver, which is gonna be where the heck is my silver? Do I have any silver? Chat, we might be cooked. We might not have any silver. In which case, well, it looks like we're just tying a gold and black fly, because it does not appear that I have any silver MFC scales and tails, which is what I was going to use. Looks like I must have, yeah, looks like I must have ran out without realizing. Well, that's a shame. Yeah, the closest thing I have is some blue bait fish. That's about the closest I've got, unfortunately. But that'll be fine, I guess. So now I'm gonna just blend another bunch. I'm gonna use a little bit more black on this one just to kind of accentuate that black. I'm also gonna blend in this this little clump, tiny little clump I didn't use on that other pass. And as you can see, my black tail is starting to get really, really, really sparse. We're starting to lose out on that that hair. We're starting to almost get into the, the gross hair. And I'll go ahead and blend this up. And after blending these guys up, we've got this. And I'm gonna throw this into my hair stacker. Thank you, Mr. John. Fortunately, we don't have that that silver MSC scales and tails, but it'll be fine. It'll just be black and gold. I guess the white will be our silver, right? So we'll do another bunch of this. Throw this on the hook shank. And we'll use a fair bit of thread tension on this. And I'll flip it over and just add a little bit of white. And especially in these smaller flies, it's especially important you don't use a ton of white or a bunch of, body on the bottom, because your fly will keel horribly. So using just barely any on the bottom will really help that fly keel properly without adding any additional weight or anything, which can just generally impede the fishability of the fly, and also just make your line gets all weird, and it just gets weird. So if you can kind of manually help that fly keel by just with material control, if you develop the skill of maintaining a really good heavy top wing, if you want to call it that, of the fly, and then maintaining a really relatively sparse bottom wing of the fly, it really helps to maintain that size that you need to have a properly keeled fly that doesn't flip over and crap when you're fishing it. And I am going to hollow tie this this one. I won't bullet tie this one. Thank you, Clouser. I appreciate it. There we go. There we go. That looks pretty fun. And now I'm going to start blending in more white into that top part 2. We haven't really incorporated a ton of white, and as we're getting to the last, we'll probably do 2 more layers. I want to increase the amount of white in this fly just a little bit, because that white just adds a little bit of flair that that a lot of colors miss out on. It just kind of catches the eye a little bit more. So I'm going to use just a hair of white, not too much white. We don't need, it to be like just a pure white fly. But adding just a little bit of white, just, I think it just catches the eye a little bit more. I know, right? I think, like, honestly, obviously, like, Atlantic salmon flies are beautiful. But, like, a good hair streamer looks so cool. It just, especially when you're blending the fibers like I prefer to do. Like, that just, I don't know, it looks really cool. Just, like, the white and the black and the yellow and all the color, the blue on like a cool blue fly. Like, I don't know, I tied this, a half hour ago or whenever. I don't know, it just looks so fun. Like that yellow, blue, and white, like it just looks really cool. Oh no, it's not that. Black. And now I'm going to grab some black hair. And I'm just blending up those fibers. This is a little bit more obscure. Yeah, that's actually kind of true. That's actually kind of true, Clouser. And that's the really cool part about blending the colors, is that, like, yes, you can see them in their own colors, but like how you said, like when you like blend them all together, it almost makes new colors, right? Like I don't know, it just looks really cool, especially when you mix together like you know, yellow and blue together. Like, it almost makes like a greenish color, you know, and I don't know, it just looks so cool, I think. I think blended fibers on these streamers are probably one of my favorite artistic expressions of fly tying. Like, salmon flies, great artistic expression, but like normally you follow a pattern and it's like, I don't know, like this way, like I'm free. Like, I have like a specific steps that I do, but I can do literally any color combination on earth. And most of them look really freaking cool. So that's a really cool part about blending bucktail like this. There we have that. I'm gonna apply just a hair of UV resin to this. There we go. And this one I am gonna bullet tie once again, and there's a reason for it. It's because we're gonna tie in some flash, and actually to keep with John's theme of incorporating some gray in there, like he asked. I didn't have any gray synthetic fibers or any gray material, but unfortunately, but I do believe I have some gray flash. I do. If I do remember, this is some of the most annoying crystal flash I've ever used. Yeah, it is. It'll be fine though. It'll work. And on a small fly like this, we don't need a ton of flash. Just enough to give this some body and some character. So I'm gonna fold this over. I'll use my dull scissors to cut this in half. After which I will put about half on top and just a little bit shorter length on bottom. Just like so. Oh, goodness. Oh, talking for this long. Yeah, that's the point, Mr. Bambi. Supposed to look, nice and flashy. There we go. Cool silver in there. Hopefully that's up to your expectations, Mr. John, in terms of the silver content in there. I'm sorry I can get more silver, but there's our flash. We probably could do 2 more layers. I'm gonna just do 1 though. We're gonna finish off this fly with a really nice, big, bulky head, but instead of 2 different layers. It does look good, John. Okay. So we're gonna do a little bit of black, per usual. A little bit more though. And then a fair bit of yellow, of course, maintaining that nice yellow look. And actually, to stick with that gold theme, of course, you can't have gold without a little bit of orange. So we're gonna incorporate just a hair of orange into this fly as well. Just a few fibers at the very end, just to continue with that gold kind of perch theme. So we'll just put a little bit of, I'm gonna put a little bit more in actually. So we're gonna do some orange in there, And then I'll put just a little bit of white as well to continue to incorporate that that overall white kind of underlying. It's like white is almost in the water, almost like it's a flash in itself, especially when you're blending different colors with it. Like it's almost like a flash in the bucktail. Actually, hold up, good money idea. If anybody wants to take this, you know, I'll only charge like 15% royalties. Make a blendable flash that is the exact texture of deer hair, in the exact length of deer, or deer tail that's in the exact length of deer tail, that's like really, really thin, and a lot like more wispy than like even like the really wispy flashes, and make it so it can be blended in a deer hair really well. Yeah, we can do a nice long strand of another color. What color do you want? We can do, I don't really have a lot of great colors, not gonna lie. I'm getting pretty limited. I've got some chartreuse. Chartreuse, we make like this almost fire tiger. Fire tiger has a little bit of chartreuse in it a lot of times, so we'll just do a little bit of chartreuse to do a nice little band of. Oh, we can do, yeah, we can just do like a full on, oh, I understand. We can do a full on long color. I like that. Okay, yeah, we can do a full on stripe. So how we do that, because we're reverse tying, you actually have to start off with that color that you want that to be that stripe. So we're gonna start off with that black. And I'll start off by just reverse tying in that nice stripe of black. And after tying in that full on black, then I'll go ahead and blend up my other many colors. That actually looks pretty cool. That looks more golden than just the yellow. That looks cool with the orange and chartreuse and black and white. That looks cool. Yeah, that's really cool. I like just that hint of chartreuse really just makes those other colors pop. Like, it's like salt. Like, you don't need it. You don't want the salt flavor. You use it to draw out the other flavors. It's exactly like that. That chartreuse just barely, it brings just that pop to everything else. How's it going, Float? Canada? Dude, Canada's the GOAT. And there's a nice big clump. And I'm using pretty thin threads. Hopefully I don't break this off, but we want to kind of cinch down. And we're trying to mitigate rolling. W, Mr. Clouser. Thank you, Floatin' Field. I appreciate it. I'm liking the look of this fly. John did a good job picking out these colors. That's for sure. Did a very good job. Alrighty. Flip it over. And we're gonna do just the smallest bit of white. We're gonna do a really tiny amount on this, especially in this part. Just a really little bit, because we've got so much on top that this is going to be our main keeling spot, where this really helps to keel this fly out. So, you know, obviously, you know, when you're keeling a fly, you don't want it to have all the material on the bottom so that it floats. Like, you know, when you're stripping it in, it looks like this. So applying just a really sparse amount on the bottom will help to keel that fly really well, and allow this fly to be overall a lot more fishable. And because this is that last tie-in, I'm going to hit this with a fair bit of UV resin. Obviously, if you have Zap-A-Gap, definitely use that. I don't know where mine is, which is quite strange, because normally it's literally right here at all times. So, I don't know, but give that a little zap, and I'll do another zap on top, actually, just to help this out. Obviously, especially if you're fishing this with pike. Obviously, this isn't a super musky focus fly. Like, you could fish this like early spring musky, 100% great fly. But for like you know, this is more of a pike, smallmouth, largemouth, and trout focused streamer. And, you know, especially for that pike, like, you want to make sure that your wraps are relatively well protected, and Zap-A-Gap does a much better job of that than UV resin. But, you know, UV resin will work in a pinch. Obviously, that's what I'm doing. But let's see how that, we might need to put just, yeah, I'm going to put just a little bit more on the bottom. We want this to be sparse, but that's a little more sparse than I'd prefer. So we'll put some yellow on the bottom. That'll look cool. And just plain old white all the time. We've got a lot of white on the belly. I don't want this to be super white focused, because most of my flies are, you know, very white dependent. So adding just something a little bit more interesting might help to make something a little bit more interesting. So that looks pretty good, I would say. You know, it's nothing crazy. Again, we don't want a ton of material on the bottom, but just a little bit will help. And then I'm gonna wrap forward everything just to make sure that everything is all lined up. So when I fold it over, it's all folding over the exact same spot. And from there, I'll go ahead and adjust where everything is. Fold this back and just pinch this off. It's important, especially in this last time, that you really pinch everything, crease all the fibers so that they, you know, flow backwards in a natural looking, you know, cool looking flow look. And make sure that black stripe is right on top as Sir John wanted. Looks like we've got a little bit of color, you know, various like little clumps of color, which isn't my favorite, but it'll be fine. And from here, I'm just gonna make sure everything is back really well creased. And then we got that nice black stripe on top, which looks cool. But I think that looks pretty good. That chartreuse, like, you can barely see it. Like, you have to search for it. But I really think that makes it pop a lot better than just standard, you know, just standard gold or yellow. So now I'm going to build up a fair little head just to allow this to yeah, exactly, Clouser. Panfish flies are super fun too, but yeah, big streamers are very fun to tie, and obviously catching a big old fish is very fun. Even a big trout is a blast, let me tell you. So it's looking pretty good. Nice. That looks pretty good. And the other advantage of having a really sparse bottom is your hook point, even on a smaller hook gap like this, is not covered. Which obviously, if your hook point is covered, you're gonna have a much harder time sticking fish. Which you know, especially when you're fishing for bigger game, if you will, is a bit more of a big deal than, you know, just like if you miss a panfish. But if you miss a muskie, you know, you're in, you know, big trouble. That's a shame. So being able to have a nice clear hook point is an advantage. Thank you, Clouser. Yeah, I like that too. I don't know. Hopefully that's to John's satisfaction. We do have a little black stripe. I don't love, it's not super defined. You can see it, but it's not super defined, but it's still fun. Yeah. Did I whip finish this? I kind of forgot. I did whip finish it. Okay, good. I'll go ahead and cut that off. Yeah, I think John did a pretty dang good job picking out the colors for this fly. That is very cool. I like that. well, I think that's going to be about it for me, guys. Thank you so much for coming along. If you've been watching and you like what I'm doing, please do consider subscribing. It very much means a lot to me. Yeah, but thank you guys so much for coming along. Really appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you so much, Beth Steffen. I very much appreciate you tagging along. Alrighty, thank you guys so much, and I will see you guys next time.